Tansei, Abawashde, Tēnā koutou. As our iSTEAM interns wrap up their summer research program, my colleagues and I wanted to share with you some snippets of some of the research they've been doing this summer and provide a brief introduction to the iSTEAM Pathways program. Located here at the University of Alberta on Treaty 6 territory, the territory of Papa's Chase and the Métis Nation homeland, the iSTEAM Pathways program was initially mandated to provide an education environmental program for the Indigenous youth of Alberta. Now concluding its second year, the iSTEAM Pathways program provides the opportunity to experience environmental research alongside and under the mentorship of amazing researchers across environmental disciplines here at the University of Alberta. Through fully funded summer internships, our interns get to explore new and important possibilities for their studies, for their careers, while at the same time acquiring important new skills that can benefit their communities. Despite pandemic disruptions, our interns and their supervisors have achieved amazing work. So without further ado, here are some tiny samples of some of the work they have been doing this summer.
I'm lucky this year to have iSTEAM student Tiana Tianachukik to help me with my research on honeybees. Honeybees are really important insects because they pollinate our plants in agricultural fields, but also in natural ecosystems. And we try to understand how these complex societies made of thousands of worker honeybees and one queen are collaborating, organized and functioning together as a group. Tiana is helping me with this research project. She's learning critical behavioral biology. She's learning how to set up an experiment, devising a scientific hypothesis, and think critically about how to test this hypothesis. Tiana has been very helpful with our research. She has reached out to the city to get the high-level bridge lit up in yellow in honor of honeybees and their importance as pollinators.
Yeah, that's a queen right there.
Growing up in a small town, I had never got the chance to work in a lab, and so I never knew if that was kind of my career path. I had gotten the opportunity to try it out this summer, and I have been loving it so far. It's been a really cool experience working really close with my supervisor, Professor Ruppel, especially in your first and second year. You don't really get to know your professors very well because it's a class of 300 students. I got to know him and work alongside him and really get that one-on-one time with my professor. I realized how much that may help me grow as a student and as a learner. With the iSTEAM program, I never saw myself as the type of person that would really enjoy research. And I had done labs throughout the U of A before, and I was always like, oh, we're learning about maybe small microorganisms and stuff like that, and it never really sparked my interest. And I thought I would enjoy it for the summer, get to learn lots, but it wasn't something I probably would see myself doing. Until I actually got into it and got started. Once I got started, I was pretty much hooked for it. I always knew that I wanted to get my graduate. It was a personal goal of mine to achieve. Now I'm kind of figuring out the way to get there and could possibly see myself continuing with this honeybee research through my graduate, maybe into my PhD, and just keep going with it because I've been really, really enjoying it.
The project that we're working on this summer with Amber is about land reclamation when it comes to oil sands tailings deposits in northern Alberta. One of the ways that we treat these tailings is by environmental processes and using local plants to help get all of the water out of the tailings in order to be able to get to a strong deposit. The final goal is to be able to reclaim them into a trafficable land that we can give back to the communities to use it in the equivalent land use.
We're looking at a couple local species mostly found in northern Alberta. I think one of the coolest things that I found is now that I've learned to identify them, I see them all over. And because they're so resilient here, they're a great way to reclaim this land. My favorite part was learning about the different species and the different type reclamation that goes on with the tailings, as well as being able to work so closely with amazing mentors at the university. Before I started this program, I didn't really understand what engineers and scientists really did and what like a day in the life of their work looked like. And now that I have a better understanding, I think it does sound like something I really want to pursue in my future.
It was fantastic to bring two different ways of knowing and learning and understanding the world around us. You know, having these conversations and meaningful conversations was one of the highlights for me in this project. So it was a real privilege to be part of that program, and we're really grateful.
Hey there, how are you guys? Welcome back to Field Adventures. We're just on our 2-kilometer trek through the cut block. Now, it gets pretty boring out here in the cut blocks. As you can see, just a bunch of trees. My project is called Wiretapping the Wildness in Dr. Bain's Bioacoustic Lab. This field season we've collected data for a variety of different research projects, ranging from human disturbances and their impact on the birds and different species of birds and even bats. My project focuses on the peak season of nighthawks, the most rapidly declining species of bird, and their behavior in the southern Alberta prairies. This internship has proved to me how important it is to pursue your passions, especially in regards to your career. My favorite part of this internship has been actually going out and collecting data, climbing to the very, very peak of a literal mountain, and just becoming familiar with the flora and fauna surrounding me.
Kia's been working for me this summer with a large field crew who's been collecting soundscapes of Alberta. So in other words, audio recordings of all of the animals, the human sounds, and some of the just normal background sounds of the Alberta environment. They're going to become part of a very large database called the WildTrack system, where we process this huge volume of data. In other words, in order to understand how some of the ecological impacts of human activities are influencing birds, bats, mammals, frogs, and a variety of other species. So Kia has been very instrumental in helping us gather a set of data we didn't have in high elevation areas, which are some of the areas undergoing the most rapid effects of climate change. So some of the work she's doing and the data she's helped her colleagues collect will be instrumental in helping setting policy for a variety of Alberta animals, and hopefully we can do a lot better job of conserving the species and the landscapes that we all love.
Monitoring air quality is important for healthy and clean air. However, the government air quality monitoring centers are expensive and require a lot of maintenance and are mostly located in large cities. More remote areas, such as reserves, are underrepresented in terms of air quality monitoring. The sensors that we are building cost under $200 total to make, and they're quite simple. They're good for DIY projects, education, and community outreach and engagement. We hope to deploy the air quality sensors into the community to obtain air quality data where air quality data has never been obtained before. This program has given me new insights towards what I want to do with my future career. I'm much more interested in air quality and the environment than I ever used to be. What is most exciting about this internship is the way that I feel like I'm doing something that helps the community and I'm doing something that matters.
My research group usually study chemistry that's happening in the air. For example, what's happening to smoke coming from fire, what's happening the cloud up in the sky, and also what's happening in the indoor environment, which we spend more than 90% of the time in our life. We also try to develop devices and approaches that are more affordable, flexible, approachable by the community, which is miniature air quality sensor. The novelty of them is that, first of all, the cost is very low. It's below $150. And second of all, we can mix and match a lot of functionality in there to achieve the air quality parameters that we can measure. This one here, we can measure the small suspended particle in the air called PM2.5 or PM10. In addition to that, we can measure carbon dioxide, we can measure total volatile organic compound, as well as temperature and relative humidity. Since Ariel has joined our group, she has made a lot of exciting and significant contribution to our project. First of all, she has made the sensor much smaller by using a much more miniaturized device in the sensor. She also extended the capacity of the sensor from before a much less accurate carbon dioxide sensor into a more accurate and robust carbon dioxide sensor. The recent progress that Ariel has been making is incorporating a GPS device into the sensor, such that when you're holding a sensor and walking around in the outside like us, you can track your position in real time. You can provide not only the concentration of the pollutant, but also the location and the time at the same time. It makes this kind of small sensor really applicable to many different kind of situations, a lot of research purposes, and also community outreach.
Our project is looking at the effects of micro and nanoplastics, not only the environmental effects, but the effects that they can have on fish and on living organisms of that nature. One of the big challenges with studying microplastics is that it's really hard to get a good controlled sample to use and to produce experiments that you can get data out of that's reliable and that's robust. So what we're doing and what Natasha is doing is making very specific sizes of microplastics that we can tune and then we can age to simulate the weathering or the degradation that happens in the environment.
The research project that I'm working on with Jeffrey Farner has to do with the large and small scale impacts of plastic pollution in the environment. This project is interesting because I'm helping to build a foundation of knowledge that'll help future generations guide the use of environmentally safe plastic products. My experience in the program involves working with amazing mentors who are so enthusiastic, intelligent, and encouraging about their work, and they've helped me thrive in a research environment. The work I've been doing involves creating small plastic particles for other members of our team to use. I've gained a better understanding of how many variables contribute to the complex interactions that occur with plastic pollution in the environment. This program has given me new insights into possibilities for my career and for my community by introducing me to successful Indigenous leaders in STEM and opportunities to develop the skills relevant to a career in research. What I like most about my experience is working with all sorts of different people and learning about the various perspectives and activities associated with environmental research. Every day I look forward to learning something new from the members of our team.
June 1st, 2021, collecting samples from Artificial Streams facility in Calgary.
I joined the iSteam program in hopes of getting involved within the science community. I got the opportunity to work in an environmental engineering project under the Professor America Arlos. I've had many opportunities to learn about the dedication it takes to work within the lab and field work, also learn about the interactions between water and microplastics and their impact on the environment.
When I heard about the iSteam Pathway program, I got really excited because I thought it's an opportunity for me to pay things forward. So a lot of the ways I think right now is attributed to the mentors that surrounded me during my grad studies, during my master's and PhD program. So when I heard about it, I thought, okay, well, I'm on board. I'm ready to begin this journey, to start this journey of paying things forward. So the entire summer has been a blast, and I really can't wait for my students and future students to grow and deepen their connection to environmental protection, in particular for me, water, the connection to water.
Welcome to Jasper National Park. I am partaking in the translocation of the Columbia ground squirrel, where we take and move ground squirrels that are about to be displaced by new buildings, and we bring them here. And we are trying to ensure their survival for future generations.
This summer, AJ Wilson assisted my master's student, Brianna Lorentz, to develop a protocol for translocating Columbian ground squirrels. In Jasper, we're attempting to move squirrels from places where they are considered to be pests to places where they can provide ecosystem services, thereby contributing to a broader mandate by Parks Canada to support ecological integrity. AJ was a wonderful and enthusiastic participant, but she also helped me see a broader mandate for the project as part of Wakotuan, seeking relationships with other species that honor all of life. I appreciate the contributors at iSteam who are bringing Indigenous scholars new opportunities in the STEM fields, as well as practitioners in those fields, new ways of seeing. What a pleasure it's been to host an iSteam intern for a second year.
The goal of our project is to investigate the role that the glaciers in the Canadian Rocky Mountain Parks are playing with the organic carbon pool in these glacially fed rivers. Organic carbon pools are a very important food source to the microbial communities that live within these rivers. So we are really trying to investigate how important these glaciers are to these microbial communities, to try to understand what might happen to these microbial communities when these glaciers disappear from this landscape. I've gotten to work with two iSteam students this year, Samuel and Lakota.
I'm a part of an iSteam project that's in the mountains with the CMN network. Over time, the main glacier, Columbia Icefield, where there's multiple different glaciers, as they recede, the chemistry and the microbial community may change in these rivers, and we're trying to just create a data set in order to determine whether this glacial river will change due to global warming and climate change. We'll be able to use this data in order to compare how it changed over the years. I really would like to share my knowledge that I learned throughout this project, use the skills that I've learned to help develop maybe new systems for First Nations communities in order to have clean drinking water.
Yep. Oh, thank you. That is some manpower. I appreciate it. I am working currently on the NSR, which is the North Saskatchewan Rivers Tributaries Project, to build a topographic model of water quality. I've always looked at health to be in a macro system. So we have to look at health in things that we see, like with the trees, with the grass, like that's all determinants of health. But what this project has really shown me is it's more so the microscopic elements of life that really create a baseline of health in any ecosystem. Eventually, I would like this all to come back to Pelican Lake, to be able to bring a little bit of the knowledge I have back to my home community so that we can have food sovereignty, full water quality, that there's no boil water advisories on my nation. It's a blessing that I've gotten this opportunity.
As someone who grew up in rural Alberta, the biggest part that contributed to my career success is having exposure to different careers, industries, jobs, and having a chance to take part in real live projects. The iSteam program gives Indigenous youth a chance to try different careers, have exposure to different projects, and have a chance to do and participate in environmental field research. By having Indigenous youth participate in the iSteam program, there's benefit not only to the students and their career growth, but also to the Indigenous communities. It gives a chance for folks to bring back what they've learned and share their stories, and bring it back to the communities to contribute in a positive way. From my spirit and heart to yours, I'm very thankful to know the Indigenous students that took part in the iSteam program. I'm very proud of all that you've done, and I'm very thankful that you've had this chance. The projects that you've contributed are making a difference in a larger way than you can even imagine. So thank you.
In these critical times, the experiential environmental research program offered by iSteam Pathways is more critical than ever. In 2020, in its first year, iSteam received 20 applications. In 2021, the program received 54 applications. For this program to grow and develop as we know it must, it needs your support. We hope that you will be part of this support. From our hearts to yours, thank you for watching.